Today we have some questions for the coach. Let's talk about those. Welcome to the Patriot Training YouTube channel. My name is Clay Howell. I'm the owner and head firearms instructor at Patriot Training. The purpose of this video is to answer some questions that some viewers have sent in. First question, the viewer writes, Clay, my church has a security team, and we all agree that training is necessary regardless of what prior training the person has, that we need to have continuous and ongoing training. You're right. And the question begins and says, our team has somebody on the team that is former military and they are offering to lead the training. What say you about this? And I want to make sure I answer this very carefully for everybody out there. 100% respect and admiration for our military men and women. Those who have served, thank you for your service. 100% respect and admiration for our friends that have current and former law enforcement in their backgrounds. Thank you for protecting and serving. That said, what makes a good military warfighter, soldier, Marine, what have you, and what makes a good firearms instructor are two totally separate things. Even if this person's skills are up to notch, and that would be the first question I would have, that does not necessarily translate into being able to teach those skills. So somebody that's already on the team and that is really pushing that the team train with them, I would automatically have a little bit of reservation. What would make a good training option? Well, one good thing that I would consider, if you have somebody on your team, and this is very unlikely, but if you have someone on your church safety team or response team or security team or whatever you guys call it, that is a professional civilian firearms instructor, and I don't just mean handgun carry permits, I mean actual training classes, then that might be an option. A better choice is to book something with a competent, qualified trainer and have your training there. That would be what I would recommend. The next question. Viewer writes in, gives some context. They are fairly new to shooting, and they wonder if they should get a red dot for their everyday carry pistol. And this is a nuanced answer. There's some pros and there's some cons here, so let's flesh some of those out. First off, let's make the distinction. A red dot on a rifle is a speed tool. A red dot on a pistol is a precision tool. Why is the same implement having different purposes given a different platform? Well, number one, the platform is different. On a rifle, you have 4 points of contact. You have your shoulder, hand, cheek. By having proper cheek weld on a rifle, say an AR-15, a red dot is designed to be high enough off the board that your eye falls right in line with it when you're holding it properly. So lining it up is not the problem. Now you can shoot speed because you get immediate feedback on where the dot is on the target. Meanwhile, a red dot is a precision implement on a pistol because you don't have as much stability. You've only got 2 points of contact, left hand, right hand. And also, the dot on a rifle generally has a wider, larger lens, and a dot on a pistol generally has a smaller lens. There are, of course, always exceptions, but that lens is usually about as wide as the slide on your handgun, and or maybe just a little bit more. And so what you will often see is you'll see somebody poke out, and then they start fishing around trying to find the dot. And there's about 5 or 6 really good methodologies for helping to find the dot once you get it out there. Many of them clash because sometimes the dot's high, sometimes it's low, sometimes it's left, sometimes it's right, and that's going to require different solutions. And I love it when I see all the people in the comments section, when they see something about a red dot and they say, oh, if you can't find your dot, then your grip is bad. Maybe not. Or if you can't find your dot, your draw is bad. Maybe not. And, if somebody mentions a whole lot of what is happening that's wrong in the comments, you can rest assured they're almost never an expert, that's for sure. The experts are out there teaching people how to do it instead of, going into comments on social media. But that said, Let's go to the masters of the craft and let's listen to what they have to say on it. I've watched a YouTube video by Ken Hackathorn, definitely one of the experts in the firearms training field. And he suggests that red dots on a pistol are for the top 1%. If you're going to practice, if you're going to train, if you're going to get it right, that's for you. Meanwhile, I've seen a couple of firearms instructors, they say almost everybody they see come through class has a red dot on their pistol. Now, the irony in these is almost every time I hear an instructor say that or see an instructor say that on social media, that instructor holds classes that are called red dot pistol. So, of course, everybody's got a red dot on their pistol. At Patriot Training, we see maybe 25%, maybe 30% of pistol shooters have a red dot. Maybe. Oftentimes, it's much lower than that. We have only ever had one pistol class where we had half the participants with a red dot. So it's not as common as these instructors would lead you to believe, because not everybody has a red dot on their handgun. And so therefore, you got to, what's the context under which a statement is made? You've always got to ask that question. So that being said, let's go to another expert in the field. Akil Kadir, the owner of Citizen Safety Academy. He's also way on up there in the hierarchy over at Range Master. He's a right-hand man of Tom Givens. Akil is my NRA training counselor, good friend of mine. And Ak states that the red dot on the handgun is for enthusiasts. So, you've got two well-known people in that space saying, hey, it's for the top tier of people. What does that mean? Well, let me give you my opinion of what that should mean for you. Should you carry a red dot on your pistol? Only after you've met two conditions. Number one, you need to have backup iron sights that are co-witness. So they're going to be taller than the ones you see on this fake gun here. They're going to usually be, like a quarter inch, half inch taller than that, so that they can co-witness through the glass. And meaning you can see those sights even when you're looking through the glass for your dot. The reason why is because anything electrical can fail. Batteries can go out, connections can become displaced. I've had, like I said, dozens if not hundreds of dots in class, and I've had 2 or 3 actually make it through the whole entire class without a failure. That should tell you a little something. Most of the dots I've seen, the vast majority, 90%, have been good quality grades, Holosuns, Aimpoints, Trijicons and above, and yes, those still do fail. So, you got to have backup. The second thing that you need, in addition to co-witnessed backup sights, the second thing you need is you need to get your gun out there, find your dot with muscle memory, and then practice 5-second draws until you consistently get that dot in your sight picture. Once you consistently get that dot in your sight picture, you must now do 1,000 reps without a failure to get that dot. 0 failures on dot acquisition. After 1,000 consecutive reps, then you can consider carrying, that would be my suggestion as a minimum, to carry with a red dot. Why? Because when the chips are down, now you have the muscle memory installed into your body to be able to pick up that sight so that you don't have an aggressor coming towards you and you're going, oh, where's my dot? That would be terrible. The fun part is if you have co-witness backup iron sights, that can assist you because you can see those and your eye can reference those better, so you can determine which way you need to cant or squeeze or move your hands. And that's the key part there. That's the second benefit to it. So, in general, should I have a red dot on my carry pistol? If you are an enthusiast, if you are a top 1%er, if you're going to practice your dry fire reps and get, 100, 200, 300 reps in per week of good quality, I've got a good sight picture with the dot each and every time. And if your carry pistol also has co-witnessed iron sights that can stick up above the bottom of the dot so that you can see them through the lens, then yes, by all means, carry with confidence with your red dot. The next question, a viewer writes in and says, Clay, should I get a chest rig for rifle training, or should I get LBE, load-bearing equipment, an old school belt of some sort? Often many people will mention the Alice belt in this case. And of course, I've got a couple of modern variations of that. I'm a real fan of belt kit. I have a number of different chest rigs. And of course, everybody should have a battle belt as well, because for your training, many classes, a battle belt is very advantageous or required. And you know what? It goes well with a chest rig. Now, a battle belt and LBE, those don't go together because they're trying to occupy the same place at the same time. So you would default to the LBE if that is what's called for. That said, chest rig or LBE. Of course, the natural answer would be, if finances permit, over a period of time, get a good variation of both. Get one of each. If not, understand the pros and the cons. Pros to a chest rig. Your magazines are up here. Most schools, when they're teaching tactics and techniques and everything, they teach it around a chest rig, and that's great. And, you know, a lot of our military men and women, they are very experienced running chest rigs, and so you get a lot of expert opinions there as far as military applications are concerned. Getting in and out of vehicles is a pro with a chest rig because that's what it was designed for. It was designed for people that are getting in and out of vehicles. Con to the chest rig, getting in a good prone, you're not going to have the same prone you have as without a chest rig. It's going to be different, therefore it will be less stable. You will either have to train around it or train with that very one, and I have yet to see one that could in some way, shape, or form repeatably make me more stable. That's just not what they do. They make you less stable because they take you up off the ground, off of where your body is. Another con to the chest rig is if you're wearing it correctly, the magazines are right up under your chin, and so if you don't train to get the magazines out with head movement, or you know, by keeping the magazine canted at the right angle, either which one, you're going to bump yourself, you're going to get in your own way. And when you're wearing it wrong, it's around your belly, so you might as well wear LBE anyways because it's around your belly. So that's your cons. Your pros and your cons to LBE or some kind of belt kit like that. Getting in and out of vehicles is going to be a con. That's not what it was built for. It was built for the patrols back in the day, you know, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, you know, all the way up until the GWAT kind of changed things, you know, in the early 2000s. In fact, that was our standard kit, was some kind of a belt-based kit up until that point in time. And brings up another one. I forgot to say, a con on a chest rig is when you've got the shoulder straps on the chest rig and shoulder straps on a backpack. Those just never go together well. It's always super, super uncomfortable. It requires some jury rigging. It's just, it's not cool. Meanwhile, LBE does not pair well with a large backpack. And there's some people out there that they believe that even with LBE, you need a super large backpack. And I know where that comes from. That comes from the military doctrine of they have to carry 80 pounds of stuff in their backpack or more. And so they're accustomed to carrying that. Well, the whole purpose of LBE is to move some of those items out of the backpack and onto the waist. And for civilian applications, it's my estimation, go look at what's happening in Ukraine, especially with the militia-style forces there. A lot more of them are wearing LBE than are wearing backpacks because, you know, when you're not going to be out for days and days and days in the field, you don't necessarily need a rucksack. You can use an LBE and you get everything you need, even if you have an overnight. Meanwhile, because it takes some of the stuff out of the backpack, you could use a smaller backpack to carry what remaining effects you do need, and then that doesn't get in the way of the LBE at all, not in my experience. Perhaps for a person of very diminutive stature, you know, a shorter person, maybe that might be the case still, but I don't know. You got to try with your own personal body geometry. But keep in mind that when you're getting advice from military, it's going to be based on their experience in the military, and it's going to be apropos for military applications. And if you're a civilian asking me these questions, I'm going to presume that you're coming at it from a civilian point of view. If you're coming at it from a military point of view, you know what? Go ahead and enlist or sign up or whatever you're going to do with the branch of your choice, and then they will issue you the equipment they want you to train with, and they will have experts to teach you that kind of equipment and how they wish for you to apply it. That's not what I'm here for. What I'm here for is civilian applications, and I believe in civilian applications, LBE far outweighs the need for a chest rig. That said, I still have one of each. You can get good LBE. Right now, they're a little bit higher price. You could put one together from Condor with some decent components and everything for about $120, $150. And, you know, a decent chest rig, you know, with maybe 4 mag pouches and all the things you need would also be about $100, $120. So, you know, if you buy dedicated LBE, that's going to be $350 and up, depending on which model you get and which one you like and which camouflage pattern you want. But, you know, that said, one of those things that you got to look at is the finances too. But again, for the vast majority of civilian applications, I think the LBE has an advantage. And I think you should be comfortable with both, capable with both, and have both at the end of the day, you know, once all said and done, because if we knew what we would need as civilians, we would train exactly for that. The problem is we don't know. So we have to train a little bit for everything, right? Next question comes in, and it has to do with dominant eye training. This viewer asked, I am left eye dominant, and I'm trying to shoot a rifle, but I'm right-handed. What do I need to do? Do I need to learn how to shoot the rifle left-handed? Perfect question, because what you, my friend, just described was you described me. I am left eye dominant, and I am right-handed. So if you watch me shoot a pistol, one thing you'll notice is that in my opinion, just to kind of, the TLDR is eye dominance matters when shooting pistol, and it needs to be trained around when shooting rifles and shotguns. When I'm shooting a pistol, you will see that, like right now, I'm lining up my gun to the camera. You see I close my eye just to make sure I've got a good aim. If I'm going to do this with the left, all I'm going to do is turn my head ever so slightly. Now my left eye dominance can take place, and I can shoot well. All you have to do is turn your head. When I turn my head, I tend to tilt down just ever so slightly. If you get the right angle, like if you take a camera angle that's looking up this way at me, it'll look like I'm doing this, but I'm not. I'm literally doing that right there. It's just the smallest downward tilt and mostly left. And that just pulls my left eye right into the picture. And that's how you should do. If you are left eye dominant, right hand shooter, and you're shooting a pistol, that's what you should do. Tilt your head. It's like 15 degrees at the most. Okay? Takes care of that easy. Where it comes into play is with a rifle. And you see I've got a toy rifle here, an old airsoft rifle, right? And what you'll see, what I see, I've had maybe, over 10 years of instructing, I've had maybe 3, maybe 5 people that were very headstrong about this. And I mean headstrong, and I don't mean they just weren't getting it. I mean they were very headstrong about it. And that's what we need to address here. And so a lot of ladies, you'll see them leaning way back with the rifle and doing this kind of stuff. So we teach how to build a proper platform and how to, step into it and how to put your body weight behind it so that you can mitigate recoil and so that you can have a good stable position. And when you're doing that, when I get this square or nearly square into my shoulder or chest, I roll my shoulder behind it to mitigate the recoil, and I will put my head straight down forward, and it lines up the sights perfectly for me. And that's what you want. My right eye falls behind these perfectly. It's almost like the AR-15 platform was built to do exactly that. It was. But what I'll see sometimes, and it's rare, again, one person every 2 or 3 years in training, I'll see them going, trying to get their left eye in here. Here's a hint. It won't work. Okay? So what happened is, for somebody like this, somebody in their past has told them, oh, you're left eye dominant, you need to put your left eye behind the sights. And while that was true for a pistol, it's not always true for a rifle or a shotgun, a long gun, if you will. Because a long gun, you're going to get this thing called cheek weld. And when I know somebody's going to say, I'm chicken winging my elbow. I can't bring it in any further. The chair gets in the way. I would probably look more like that. But no, so the point is that when you're getting proper cheek weld, it will line up your right eye correctly. Now, that said, I had a student one time, and she was legally blind in her right eye. She was right-handed, but she was legally blind in her right eye, and the way she described it and the way she actually drew what she saw. She had 20/20 vision in her left, and her right was just, she could vaguely recognize colors and shapes. That was it. And so if that's you, if you've got legal blindness in one eye, if there's a significant vision impairment in one eye, use the eye that works. That goes without saying. What I'm talking about here is not that. What I'm talking about is a simple eye dominance. And yes, it's not uncommon at all to be right-handed and be left eye dominant. It's my opinion. I've probably seen more students like that than are right-handed and right eye dominant. Just a personal opinion. We don't really, in rifle classes, go over eye dominance because it doesn't really matter. It can be trained around. You can train to use the rifle correctly. So, for those rare people that it's, somebody told them that and they've just got it in their head that they've got to have it that way or the highway. I'm sorry. You have been incorrectly informed by somebody that has about this much knowledge of how to shoot, and that's okay. there are many, many myths going around this channel. We talk about some of those myths. But dominant eye training, it matters for pistols, not so much for rifles and shotguns. Train around it. And what I find is that person that really can't take that position, they are so much of a novice with the gun that putting it in their left hand is going to be an absolute cluster because they're not going to be capable of manipulating it properly with that left hand. I've seen it tried. So keep it, they're already having, if they're already on the struggle bus and trying to do this with an eye, then, let's build some proper posture behind the gun so they can shoot, get the results they want. Next question for the coach. Clay, do you guys hate the students that are just so hard to work with? I mean, come on, they got to get on your nerves, right? And I can see how a viewer would automatically assume that in the class. I could see how a student would automatically assume that in the class. And let me tell you our philosophy on that here at Patriot Training. Our philosophy in our instructor class, one of the things we teach is that the students who are the hardest to reach are the ones who need us the most. And now, in this case, I'm not talking about somebody who's just being headstrong or somebody who's just, my way or the highway, or, like the great Clint Smith, fantastic firearms instructor once said. He goes, you wouldn't believe how many people have paid me thousands of dollars to tell me how they shoot. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about ego and attitude problems. I'm talking about people that just aren't getting it. Either they don't have good hand-eye coordination or something else is going on and they're just not getting it. Because you always have your top 10% of students, and these people, it doesn't matter how the instruction goes, they're going to take off with the material, they're going to fly, they're going to excel, they're going to do well. You always have that 80% in the middle, and these people are some variation of, they're going to get it, they're going to get a little bit better throughout the class, regardless of how good the instruction is, regardless of how good the coaching is. That's actually where we gear our coaching towards, is those people that 80% in the middle, so that we can give them the maximum value. It's that bottom 10% though, that's where our hearts are here at Patriot Training. These are the people that, for whatever reason, that it's not clicking in their mind, their body is having difficulty doing it, whatever. Maybe the hand-eye coordination just is not, that's not their strong suit, whatever the case may be. And you hear me using very careful language because I don't hate these people at all. I love them. If I hated them, I would give them no correction and let them just do as poorly as they wanted all day long and never offer to help. That, the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. If I was indifferent towards them, then that would show you my true intention. I love these people the most. And the reason why is when they have that aha moment, when it finally clicks, when they finally get that good repetition in, and I can say, yes, do that again. And you can see that smile on their face because they got it. That is what we as instructors at Patriot Training, that's what we live for, is that moment when that person that was hardest to reach finally gets it, because we want to train them up to a minimum standard of being able to defend themselves. And when the chips are down and when they need that, they don't need to be on the struggle bus. They need to do something kind of automatic. And once they figure out what that is in a class, they can go and practice that over and over and over again and get good at it to where they do the right thing automatically. And that's what we at Patriot Training live for is, we always, everybody loves their top 10% of students. They're the ones that make you look good. That middle 80%, that's how, in my estimation, you can tell a okay firearms school from a great firearms school is what they do with those people. But our love really comes out for the 10% that are on the struggle bus. Those people that are having a hard time getting it, the ones that are hardest to help are the ones who need us the most. We took that statement from the late, great James Yeager of Tactical Response. He says that, and I believe that, and we make that our mission at Patriot Training, is that if we happen to have one of those people in class, that person is going to get extra attention from us so that we can help them overcome those struggles and get up to a good, solid standard of performance. Folks, that's about it for this video. I'd like to encourage you to leave me a comment. What of these situations do you have experience with? What did you see? I'd love to hear from you as well. Leave a comment down in the comment section. As always, I'd like to encourage you to hit like, hit subscribe, and click that notification bell so you can find out when the next Patriot Training video will be released. And as always, I must remind you, you don't have to be a Patriot to train, but you do have to train if you want to be a Patriot. Take care.